follow the budget process and to have that budget adopted on time, presuming you all can work through your process.
Can I make a suggestion that we sort of just pull the board? I mean, I hope this thing doesn't have more than 5 general items on it. I mean, can we just pull the board on items that we think are important and then write them down, and then maybe we'll get a list of, maybe we'll go through it twice and then we'll narrow it down to a manageable list. Does that seem appropriate?
A little brainstorming will work.
Yeah, but just let everybody individually have their, have their crack at it, and then we'll narrow them down and vote and come up with at least a short list that we can further discuss. Does that sound
I'm
okay?
budget and all that means right now, but
Yeah.
that's the beginning of the
Harry,
process. However you'd like to proceed, Madam Chair, in polling the board.
Okay,
I'd like to go later
Later?
in this process.
okay, you said yours, right?
Which one?
The budget?
No, no, I'm just bringing, no, for me, it's operation, compliance, and staffing. I think that those are that's our, operations is our basic function, and it always has to be our priority. We have to maintain the customers we have, in a safe and cost-effective manner if possible. So I think that operations and staffing is, particularly, I think staffing is a big issue now, because we're going to be, I'm certain he will be coming back to us wanting to put some of these people that haven't had on staff that we need. So I think that'll be a critical thing.
Yes.
Madam President, maybe, I think if to pull back even to a higher level on exactly what you're saying, Director Davidson, I see that as providing safe and reliable water and wastewater services in a cost-effective, legally compliant manner. And I think,
I do just have it as one item. I put 3 things here, but operations and then staffing and compliance are like just 2, they branch off of
yeah.
operations.
Then, I mean, obviously, we've got to have sound operations to have any chance to achieve, safe and reliable service that's cost-effective and meets legal requirements. And so, I would think maybe the objectives could be, under that could be, ensuring that our operational, our plans for future operations are consistent with that or promote that. Because, again, I mean, just not to get too far in the weeds, but I think that is one of the absolute essential time-sensitive issue is the succession planning for key staff, and particularly in operations that will be leaving, and how do we continue to provide that level of service and prepare for that and not have any hiccups.
See, relative to each of these subjects, you have to say, well, what about them? And stay compliant. Don't just, again, that's kind of indicative in his job. He knows that. That's already pretty well understood, but you're being clear, stay compliant. With regard to operations is, what do you really want to say, Jeff?
No, well, again, operations would be the key, and then I would just put a thing going up it and then have compliance up there, put a little I would take it off of operations, and compliance and staffing would be the 2 branches off of operations.
And the idea, but is there anything that you need for to do specifically with these 3 things? Do you want to just make sure that those are stable, or make sure that those?
No, I think that's the discussion that he's going to have with us, coming back, saying, by the way, these are the 3 staffers I want to hire, or the positions that we need to keep operations in compliance, that sort of thing. So it's just an operations category, but I just think those are 2 of my priorities that I think we're going to have to, that he's going to have to specifically address.
So you want to see his plans, look at the first year relative to these?
And timelines.
His observation, certainly his staffing plans. The thing about compliance is it's not stagnant.
No.
I mean, we never know what's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so, Jeff, how many points did you get?
I just meant to get 1.
Yeah. So he's,
Observations, findings, and plans. And the plans may be not fully developed in his first year. I mean, it may take some time to be able to work through it. There may be incremental steps, but all that David can lay out for you. But relative to the operation and the compliance and staffing related elements of that. That's kind of what you're expecting. Fair enough?
Hopefully
Is that
that's
clear?
Yeah, and I just see it as the broad category of water and wastewater service.
Yeah,
And
it
and
is.
all of the necessary things that the priorities under that,
It's almost
but
a
it is,
report to the board on your
an operational
first
focus,
year
yeah.
findings relative to where you find the district at right now. Okay,
I'm good.
I'd like to get my thing in there
Sure.
because I want a realistic, capital improvement.
Yeah, I actually, I have the same thing.
Did you?
It's a review of our
Okay, well,
capital.
you know, that's,
But, I mean, that's the thing, I think that we've got, fresh eyes on the board and at the general management, I think that that's one of the super, super important things that we're gonna have to get a handle on is, do we have the proper prioritization of our capital improvement plan? Are we collecting too much money, not enough money, or what?
yes,
can I just ask?
And that's a big one.
yes.
A little more clarity here, realistic capital improvement review and plan? Because I don't know if he's gonna be able to deliver, I don't know, you can tell me, Dick, whether he's going to revamp your whole capital improvement plan within the first year, but that's something you wanna talk about.
Review.
I would expect I would expect the focus would be on the R&R, the rehabilitation and renovation program, because that has been the nexus for the rate increases, and I think that in my mind was, the way I envisioned this was to work with the board to come up with an updated 3-year plan for R&R projects, with funding, with projects. Actually, I see this is something that I would like to complete before we get to the budget in June.
Yes. Yes.
Is to have, and I want to, so that I know that the project list that we're going to be working on is exactly what the board sees, has said is the priority.
So see, already it's more clear. I love the fact that you've been able to have that discussion. He's already teeing this thing up for you, and a lot of you had concerns, yet the former board, as it was constructed, had concerns on this. He's intending to give you clarity on that issue already within the first year, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be on your plan. We want a realistic capital improvement plan this year. He's gonna tell you it's gonna get done in 3 months.
Yeah, I'd like to lose 30 pounds by June, but we'll see who goes, we'll see who accomplishes
I'm gonna
it.
put 3 months out there. Within the first
Well,
year.
and there's more than just in that adoption of the initial plan. I mean, there would be ongoing, the accountability to the board, to the public, on how we're using these funds, how we're doing on the projects. Again, we've represented that these are essential projects so that we don't have to be in a reactionary emergency mode. So I see a lot of other layers to this that would continue beyond
Oh, yeah.
the initial bringing the plan to the board.
Very good. And Madam Chair, it's back to you. What's your next one?
Oh, I only have one.
You're good. We got that one.
Hey, that's why I'm here.
Mr. Eyes, I can throw a little bit of, maybe a little more clarity here, is that you know that there's not a single manager alive that's really good at all 5 of the key elements. What? And that the result is that there are expressed weaknesses, and we have to be able to work within their strengths and weaknesses as we go forward. The board is actually tasked with 2 responsibilities as I see it. One is the budget, and the other is to establish and promote good policy. And that policy should be something that our general manager should be continually looking at to review, revise, and make changes to, so that we can see where those disconnects occur, that we can see some fluidity in how we're responding to those challenges. So I see policies as being something that should be an ongoing process in this, not just to be setting a goal of, you have to have so many of them done by this date. But as a challenge arises, we should be able to take that policy and revamp it so that it better fits our need. And it should be always in compliance with our mission statement,
Yes.
no matter what we do. So policies, and I agree with the operations, and I agree with the budget. In fact, Madam Chairman, you can see those are the 3 things that I have here.
So let's get David's reaction to the policy. I mean, what are you thinking when you kind of get that broad, don't be bashful in bringing us policy to review and revamp, or maybe even make new? What are you thinking there, Dave? I mean,
Yeah.
it's early, true.
No, this is something that I expected we would be doing as well. So I think what's going to be the most important part of this, I think, is going to be the work plan under this, so that we know what are those key policies and what will be the schedule, and it is a schedule that we can make progress on, but it's it would be easy, this one could consume everyone's time. I mean, if we wanted to take on policies, we could spend the entire year doing nothing other than that. So setting the the timeframe that is realistic and will achieve something meaningful for us. But I kind of see that we're not just changing policies to change policies. We're doing it because we're improving our business practices. So it's kind of like evaluating our services and our means of doing business and looking for efficiencies, bringing things up to a better standard per industry standards, those kind of things, and that's captured in the policies as well.
And I think both of you can, as you get more into this year, you can say, here's a policy we need to look at, and it would meet that criteria. You all could say, I don't have clarity on this one. You could say, we really need more guidance on this one. And so hopefully that'll be enough, because other than that, just don't be afraid to deal with policies and deal with them proactively to the degree that you can. Is the message.
The one other goal that I would like to see up there is doing everything that we can to enhance, promote, and protect the water within Calaveras County at all costs. That it is our water, and until it leaves the county, it's going to stay our water. And that we should be doing everything we can and working with the other agencies in the county to promote that. I agree with you.
And I, Director Mills, Madam President, I kind of see this as twofold: maximizing the beneficial use of our local water resources, and two, promoting our long-term water supply reliability. And water rights obviously are a key component of that, and again, that would be captured in the objectives and work plan.
Yeah, no, good. I think, again, as our mission is to provide reliable water supply and good quality water, that's kind of where I was leading to in a roundabout way with these new grants. And by the way, the application deadlines for those grants are much sooner than the 2 years out. I mean, that's like the MacIris February 6th for projects. So I think it's important, and one of my real goals is a better reliability of supply up in Division or District 2. The other thing that probably fits, I guess, with budget, as well as managing our water resources, is increasing revenue without hitting our ratepayers and customers. Okay, and so again, wherever we want to put that increase in revenue, but let me say again, increasing revenue, and one more time, increasing revenue without hitting our customers and ratepayers.
Yeah, those are going to really intertie. The protecting our water rights and increasing revenues are interrelated.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that we have to figure a way out to do it. You guys will find out that it's a difficult process. I'm sure you already know that, but they certainly go together. But that, expanding our revenue, whether it's with our operations crew or water sales, is something that I think we all agree on.
And as
Don't
well,
forget about Scott.
and as well, like, I'm sorry, I was just going to interject. I think that's where the grants would fit in very well too.
Comment, Scott.
You with us, Scott?
Star 6, Scott.
Scott?
Okay, I'm here.
Oh,
And I'm having, I'm having a tough time here, and the other side of the room, I can hear Director Strange, fantastic, not hardly Director Davidson or Dave. So I'm not positive where we're at in the discussion, and it might just be disruptive. I'll just listen for now.
Do you want to just tell him we're just looking for one of his goals?
Okay.
Goals and objectives.
What we were looking for, Scott, were any goals or objectives that you wanted to add to our list? Or had you heard all of them?
I did hear I am very much in agreement with Director Strange on alternative avenues of revenues. I think we're already looking at some of that, and I would, hopefully that will continue, and that does include, it does include grants in that category as well. I think that as part of a general category, financial management and capital improvement plan, might be in that same category of financial management. I have heard, concern over operations, succession plan, and I think that's part of management of the organization. I mean, a larger view with a few things inside: operations, employee relations, succession plan. The one other thing that I think is very important, and I don't know, is some sort of customer relations aspect or piece, and how our general manager is functioning within the community, and customer service might be a part of that. Those are my initial comments.
Okay.
I think you're thinking along the lines of protecting the brand, is that?
That doesn't.
Improving a brand.
Improving the brand?
Well, yeah, working toward the specific of customers' relations, how you interact with customers, and it goes from top to the bottom. Your interactions with them all the way to the service provider, line staff kind of out there in the trenches every day. So that's a broad category. It's something that you can move along and as, what's important is that David knows how to relate to each of these, and he's already clicking into his head what he's going to report back to you between now and 4 months from now. And in 4 months, he's going to have a more developed review of that. And what do you think of that one, improved customer relations, David?
Well, it's kind of, this really hits one of the things I want to do is kind of on a side parallel track to the work plan is kind of coming up with, say, 5 core principles to guide our work every day in this organization. And one of them I see is outstanding customer service. And as you said, Brent, it's in all of our interactions. We're customers to each other, we're customers to the public and all that, but recognizing that and doing our best to make that a good experience. So I think I have enough here to work with, and we can shape this into a, yeah.
See, you've already been thinking about it, which is a really good sign for it, that he's already out thinking about how he's going to do those kinds of things. I'm really glad about that. That you're not talking about good things that are completely foreign to him, and he's not thinking about things or already planning things that are completely foreign to you. The plan would be, at this point in time, is I'll take these back to my office, I'll put them on one sheet, and I will send them to the board president through Mona. And you will have this, it'll be 2 little pages, one on the process, one on the initial goals and objectives, and of course, Dave will have these as well. And then at the 4-month time frame, or prior to that, Mona would give you a heads up that, hey, this is coming up, we're going to schedule a closed session for this 6-month performance evaluation. And David, probably even between now and then, you're going to hear something about these things, but at that time, you're going to hear something specific about each one of these things. And so that will inform your evaluation of his process relative to being able to accomplish. Now, these are broad level things, but it's the first year, and it's understandable if they're the broad level things. The one thing I think they got left out, and maybe potentially David might want to talk to you about, maybe at the 4-month places, is to begin thinking about a strategic planning process so that you can push this out.
That can be part of his work plan.
It can be part
But
of this time.
I do have one thing to add. I didn't realize we were done.
Does everybody want to put that on there?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that this got left out. I'm sure it was inadvertent, but I think that it's very important that our general manager over the course of the next year increases Calaveras County Water District's public presence, and that definitely includes other water utility agencies, Calaveras County. We've got the general plan coming. I mean, I think it's imperative that our general manager becomes the face of the district with these other public agencies, and begins to interact in a way that hasn't happened for a few years. So I certainly, I want to judge him on that task over the course of the next 12 months. I think it's a priority of all of ours to that, I mean, I've got several little water agencies down in the Valley Springs area. There's dozens of these agencies. We need to get out there, meet them, find out what they're doing, and that's something that I think it's not really an extra, because I think it's very, very important. I mean, the operation, our ratepayers and our taxpayers, it's got to be the priority, but we need to have somebody be the face of Calvert County Water District other than ourselves. So I just think that's
I saw all your heads nod up there. David, does that one fit within your understanding and what you're ready to do and how you're going to approach that?
Yeah, it does, and then it focuses what would be effective to make that happen. But I think it really is, it's being a, and part of it is it's providing the leadership on the issues in the county, and being a really strong and responsible partner with other agencies and other stakeholders. Yeah, I think that's.
Very good. Good, so, sounds like you have a clear expectation of him there engaging the public, the community. Yeah, that's good. So, agreed. So that was gonna be where I was gonna type those up there, but the format didn't work out, so I did them here instead. I hope this was helpful. I think from my viewpoint, it is hugely important to have this discussion. And you've got a plan for when you're gonna have the next discussion, so you're doing kind of a beach entry into this relationship. That's really good. You're being clear with the kinds of things you expect. David, did you get what you need out of it? Yes. And board, I hope you did too.
Madam Chair, can I make a recommendation that, I know you're gonna give these to Director Underhill, which I think I don't want them distributed throughout the board, from the board members. I think that's the wrong way to go about it, because we could end up in a Brown Act violation. But if we discuss it amongst ourselves, just so everyone remember that. But I'd like the general manager to perhaps take a crack at consolidating some of these. I'd like the list to be slightly shorter, and I think that they overlap.
Yeah, of course, yeah, they do. And especially this one and some others, you're right, they do overlap. And so if he wanted to propose the
Condensed version of it.
revised version back to you, you'd be open to that, right? And
I would, yeah.
It's all public.
Yeah,
So
when
it's
you
easy
said
to-
you were going to send them to me, I was going to forward them to.
No, that's right, that's right.
do that. Can't do that.
The idea honestly is to file them for your future use, but maybe they're not fully developed yet. And that's fair enough.
Yeah,
That's good.
Director. Yeah.
I think going along with this, we should be able to allow Dave the opportunity to set forth a business plan based upon these goals and objectives, and also a timeline, so that we know when he is expecting to complete certain pieces of it, or what percentage he feels that it could be done, and what challenges that he might have in completing an objective the way he'd like to have it done, and what help he would need from the board or some other agency, for instance, in accomplishing that. So those should be included in that plan.
Well, I think that that will be his, when he comes back
Right,
to us
his
with the work
response to us.
plan.
I just
yeah.
want it clarified that that's what it should include.
And that's really helpful. What I was thinking, maybe what I could do at our next board meeting in February, the 18th, I could come in with my general manager's report and provide you with what I think is what, is the condensed version of this. I could get direction from the board, or we could have this as a separate item again, so that the board, if it wants to act upon that. But that, to me, that would be where we can finish that, and then that gives me everything I need to prepare that business plan, that work plan under that. So that would be the timeline I'm looking at, if that's acceptable.
Yes.
So I have a comment, though, and it relates to communication. I tend to over-communicate, but I need to understand, because of Brown Act and all that other challenges now that elected officials are dealing with, or I'm dealing with, in my desire to communicate more with the board, but, can't do it. because of the Brown Act challenges in many instances. Dave, what's the best way to communicate with you? Is it email? Is it phone? Is it, office kind of stuff? We've got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, my background is in water and water management, so I'm kind of always out there thinking of, various projects and how county-wide these, improvements or things that could benefit the district. And I just, sometimes I get frustrated with the limitations that I have in front of me. So it's not clear in my mind now what is the best way to communicate with yourself and the board in relationship to potential projects and things that go on. If we need to schedule agendized items or closed session or whatever, then so be it.
Yeah, and this is, this is one that will probably take a few months for us to really get a comfort zone in this. But what I'm thinking is, obviously we've got, what are the goals and objectives and really the work plan. So the focus of the work that I'm moving forward with, coming from the board, and this is the way that it's going to be communicated. But obviously there's a critically important connection that I have to be able to communicate directly with each of you as well, so that we understand, and then all the things that related to that and getting work done and the issues of concern and trying to think about, okay, what should we be bringing back to the board in the future? So that line of communication is, feel free that you can, use me as a sounding board for any time. And I guess what I'll say is that I'll try to be thinking about, okay, if this is something that really we need to have the board weigh in on, then I'll try to find what is the way we can do that the quickest, most efficient way, using the committee structure, the board meeting structure, to get that done. I mean, I think the committees are going to provide us with a lot of help. I think if we see issues that pop up that really require we jump in and we really need board input, then we may just need to ask the president to call a convenient ad hoc committee to do that. But that's how I'm thinking to do it. But again, I'm always available, and I certainly expect that I'll continue to have that line of communication with each of you.
But one of the things I heard out of Terry was the fact that, he knows that he can talk to another director about an issue, but he's not sure about what he can do after that. Because if you talk to another director and make a decision or decide that you're agreeing with them or whatever, that's where it's got to stop. Because if you go to another director,
Yeah.
then you can be
Well, it doesn't
serialized.
even have to be you. That board member can go to another board member, and then, but have you done Brown Act training?
Yeah.
Have you?
I went through the computer stuff. Yeah. So-
Honestly, if you get a chance to do it in a public forum, I think it's better, because what you get is people popping up with real situations, and many of them ring a bell better than reading it off the script. So if you get a chance to do a public one, I think they're better. No, but
Madam Chair, there is a webinar coming up, and I know it's not in all of you want, but the CSDA is sponsoring a webinar on Brown Act. So you sit in front of your computer for a couple hours.
That's what I did.
Pay $69, and I also have a very nice compendium of Brown Act rules for special district board members that I'd be glad to forward 5 of those copies or 6 of those copies to David, and he can hand those out, and whatever you can get. This is a learning process, but the fact is, everybody in the public needs to know that you want to do it right, and you're doing your best to do so, and that's what we hope that all of them.
And the fact that you're frustrated is it means that you're doing something right. If you weren't frustrated, you'd be breaking the Brown Act.
May I add something? May I add something also? Terry, you have the opportunity to go to the CSDA, the Special Districts Association, and they have all kinds of, you have a process as being a newly elected director. And, Scott's taking advantage of that right now, and he can tell you about it. But check with Mona and
Okay.
go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam President, and I really do want to say, I didn't know Brent before I went through this interview process, and it just so happened that I went to a CSDA meeting that he was giving a presentation on one day. after I went through that. And I got to say, it was the most useful
Right.
3-hour program I've been through. That's a resource we have. We may want to think about gaining access to Brent again. I mean, he is truly an expert on this stuff. I know he's actually in the process of working on developing a textbook on these issues. But, you know, there are a lot of resources available to us, and I want to gain access to those.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for spending some time with us, and we certainly-
Start here, Madam Chair. I think this is a really, really important thing. Keep everybody together in this, moving, this is your big opportunity to kind of move it forward in a very deliberate and positive manner. And I think the more open you are, and you are already starting on that foot and caring a lot about that, and the more communicative you are, the better off you'll be in the long run. And there will be a long and productive relationship here, and that's what's important to everybody. It's not easy work at times, but I'm glad that you're in it, and nice to meet you all. And unfortunately, I have to be in Tracy at 4 o'clock for another meeting, so I will be sending this in. I'll send it to Mona and ask her to forward it to you, Madam Chair, and then David will set and he can follow up with that.
and then you'll be sending Dave the Brown Act.
Yes, I'll send 6 of those up too.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate
Nice to
that.
see you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Do a public comment?
Madam Chair, I just have to let you know, I've got to leave at 3 o'clock. The afternoon meetings my child's got to go to a foot doctor and get stuff taken care of. So afternoon meetings are really a challenge for me to be able to stay after 3 o'clock-ish. So if that alters any of this
We just-
stuff.
you know, we
Yeah,
just
it's
had to
really
do that
important.
because of this particular circumstance, but we normally,
Yeah.
well, we understand, Terry. Okay,
Bummer.
we're ready for board reports.
Let's forego board reports if we can, and, I mean, are we gonna be able to fit anything in Terry's timeframe? This stuff we're getting ready to discuss is pretty important stuff.
We should try, yeah. At least introduce some of the ideas.
I'll just hand out my board reports to everybody, so you have an
That's fine.
opportunity to see them.
We can do them after the closed session's over.
Thank you.
But can we just go into closed
Yeah,
session?
let's just go into closed session.
Adam.
Conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, property pre-1914 and post-1914 appropriative water rights on the Stanislaus River owned by Calaveras County Water District. Negotiating parties, if the district board of directors so directs, the district will negotiate with various potential buyers, including both public and private entities located throughout California regarding the terms of water transfer. Under negotiation, price, terms of payment, and terms of water transfer, including but not limited to quantity of water and duration of transfer.
Is there any public comment
Public comment
on this closed
on
session?
this closed session item? Nope.
Okay, let's go to closed session.
Okay,
Just take like 2 minutes.
yeah.
We
Can
need to
we,
help.
on our way out, can we help the fella take his equipment?
He's going to be leaving it and coming back,
Oh,
so.
well, that's not what I heard. Okay. Can we just pick up something?